Hi everyone, Debbie here. Welcome to My Holistic Bliss Online. Today I'm going to talk to you about the 5-element theory and how that relates to you both on and off your mats. So the 5-element theory, also known as Wuxing or the 5 phases, has been part of traditional Chinese medicine for centuries. In particular, the 5-element theory is heavily used in acupuncture to help to diagnose and create a treatment plan based on various different symptoms, dysfunctions, and people's responses to stress. We can apply this same theory, but in a slightly different way, to our yin yoga practice. So, identifying the relationship between the elements, nature surrounding us, and our body and our response to stress can help us to devise a yoga practice that supports our physical, emotional health and well-being. So I have spoken about this in a blog post, but I thought I would do a voice recorded version because it is quite a heavy topic and sometimes it's easier to take in through a voice recording. So I hope I can do it as much justice as possible, but there is obviously lots of further reading that you can do, and I will suggest some further reading, and you can also complete a questionnaire that's in this section where you can figure out through answering the different questions of the responses to or how you respond to stress to find out which are your more dominant elements, and that can help guide you with the kind of movement, breath, and meditation practice that you choose to follow. So let's start with what the 5 elements relate to, and I'll also break down what each of the elements according to the seasons and organ pairs they relate to. This is how it's used within a yin yoga practice and also the diagnosis when you're having an acupuncture treatment. So as I mentioned earlier, the 5 elements, also known as the 5 phases or Wuxing, are the representation of how qi moves throughout the body in traditional Chinese medicine. Although hard to define according to Western cultures, qi is often translated as energy. However, it's so much more than simply electrical vibrations. Qi is in the air that we breathe, the food that we eat, the environment we consume, the emotions and thoughts that we experience, all of which is combined to manifest or are held within the nervous system, blood, and tissues within the body. So when this qi or energy is travelling freely, the 5 elements are said to be in balance or harmony. And as qi needs to be moving constantly without obstruction for optimal health. If there are imbalances between the phases of water, wood, fire, earth, and metal, the 5 elements, and their corresponding energetic channels or energetic highways, which is the meridian line network, this can cause the qi to stagnate or become deficient and weak. At the other extremes, qi imbalances become excessive and destructive to our health and well-being. Each of these 5 elements and its pathways is represented by the energy that our main internal organs govern. Each of these 5 elements feeds into and supports the other in a continuous cyclic manner, and each piece of this complex puzzle is paramount to the completion of the whole as the next. Viewing your health and well-being in terms of Wuxing or the 5-element theory is to live in harmony between your internal and external landscapes and to flow in accordance with the constantly changing cycles of the seasons of life. And as I previously mentioned, each of the 5 elements also relate to and correspond with the seasons throughout the year. You'll notice at different times of the year that working more harmoniously with both your own energetic balance and with what's happening around you within nature at that particular time of year also helps you to cultivate more balance and optimize your health and well-being. So let's talk about the breakdown of the seasons, which element relates to that season, and some of the common behaviours or things to be aware of with regards to both our physical and emotional well-being at these particular times of year. So starting with spring. During the season of spring, the wood energy arises. Wood is associated with movement and is a time of emerging yang, so yang being more active energy. It's a transition from a season of yin to a season of yang. Death to growth, or cold to warmth. And similar to how new growth begins to push through the frozen earth in spring, wood energy is expansive, associated with growth and development. In the human body, wood energy is the movement of your muscles and the activity of your tissues. Energetically, the wood element also relates to the liver and gallbladder meridian lines. The colour related to wood is green. Spring is reminding us of new growth and to let go of the past, and the wood energy demands free expression and space for expansion. Imbalances can give rise to feelings of resentment, anger and jealousy. Then comes the fire element, the summer element. Just as spring develops naturally into summer, so too does wood into the full yang energy of fire. Fire is the aggressive, creative energy, and when energetically we are at the height of yang. This is the most energetic phase where all life flourishes and where the action takes place. Summer energy is our time to expand, to move forward with our ideas. The fire energy relates to our motivation and confidence to create. It's connected to our hearts, the seat of our emotions, and our small intestine, the sorter, deciding what needs to be absorbed and what needs to be expelled. The colour related to the fire element is red, and imbalances can include feelings of stress, anxiety, overreaction, especially if there is too much fire energy, or perhaps there's too little, you're lethargic or stagnant. Then we move into the late summer, the earth element. Towards the end of summer, the fire energy begins to cool and we move into the earth elemental energy. This is the season of late summer. It's normally around late August, September time. So in this period, the activities of growth and decline are balanced. Earth is the aspect of all the energies in harmony. The yang energies of spring and summer, and the yin energies of autumn and winter. Late summer reminds us that Mother Earth gives us all that we need, reminding us that we are one with nature and that we should follow energetic movements similar to the natural cycle to stay in balance. The colour related to the earth element is yellow, the colour of the sun and earth. Within the body, our earth's energy relates to the stomach, spleen and pancreas. If our earth energy is out of balance, our digestion can suffer. This will affect our whole system. Emotional imbalances can show as worry and anxiety. Then we move into autumn, the season of the metal element. As summer passes and we move into autumn, the energy of metal prevails. Metal is the energy of accumulation and releasing of waste. Autumn reminds us of the need of letting go of what is no longer required or serving us. Metal can remind us of our purity and to remember that we are much more than our daily activities. The colour related to the metal element is white, and it controls the lungs and the large intestines, which are both connected to the internal and external world of the environment. What we inhale, absorb, and what we let go of both physically and emotionally. Resisting this energy and holding on to negative behaviours, thoughts, words, or old wounds can create imbalances such as sadness, grief, and resentment. This can also be held physically within the tissues of the body. And our final season is winter, the water element. Water is the elemental energy associated with winter. Water is the stillness and cooling energy and the mature yin season. Winter is a time for rest and rejuvenation, during which the energy is conserved. In the human body, water relates to our essential fluids such as hormones, lymph and marrow. The colour related to the water element is a dark inky blue or black, all colours in their concentrated form. In nature, water is expelled by excessive heat. In our bodies, water is depleted by excessive emotions such as fear. The way to conserve this energy is to learn when to rest and to listen to your own needs, flowing like water through obstacles. So how do we take this 5-element theory and link it to our yoga practice? Well, firstly, we can figure out which is our more dominant or constituting element. So you tend to have a kind of dominant element and then a secondary element. And they tend to relate to very common behaviours, very common responses to stress, common areas that you hold tension throughout your body when you're imbalanced or when you're deficient. So you can fill out the 5-element questionnaire to figure out which are your more dominant elements, and you can follow both yoga practices, breath work, and behaviours in your everyday life to help try and maintain balance with those more dominant elements. What we can also do is practice according to the current season. So in the winter time, we can work more with the water element, and that will help us to stay balanced throughout the winter season. Because even if you are more dominant in a particular element type, we have behaviours and traits, and we have each of the 5 elements within our entire physical and emotional body. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you do have more dominant elements, then if you're going through a particularly stressful situation and you know that there are quite obvious imbalances to your behaviour that you recognise that are not how you would usually behave, then I would address those specific more dominant elements. However, it's not going to do you any harm working with all of the 5 elements. Because we are constituted of each 5, regardless of which are more dominant, then it will help us both physically and emotionally to practice a variety of the different elemental yin yoga practices, but also the recommended breath exercises, the kinds of things that you do in your everyday life, so off the mat as well, that help support you in maintaining more balance throughout the whole body, throughout each of the 5 elements and throughout the seasons of the year. You might notice that certain times of year, so for example from winter to spring, it can be quite a disrupting time of year. You can feel quite physically and emotionally off, in the same way that when we're transitioning from the summer into autumn and into winter, we can often find that there are certain quite easily identifiable things that occur with the shift in the changes of light. So the changes of daylight hours, the changes of temperature, the changes of what's kind of accepted from you both socially and behavioural wise with your exercise habits, your social activities, your kind of everyday life. So doing a little bit of everything will help, but you can obviously be more specific and work on particular elements if you are going through particular situations that are affecting you at certain parts of your body. So with the practices that I have on Holistic Bliss Online, I tend to work seasonally. So there'll be a variety of different practices and they will be relating to the current season that we're in, and there will also be some past practices from previous seasons. If there isn't a practice available for your particular element, then please get in touch with me, because I can suggest some past videos. So I've got a huge library of different yin yoga practices and kind of, well, all sorts of different yoga practices. And I can't fit all of those onto the members area at any one time, because there's like 2-3 years worth of them. So I will generally have a practice that could help you with a specific element, and I would happily send you a link to view that. So I'm just going to give you a bit of an idea of how I actually integrate that into the yin yoga classes and how I plan them according to the seasons, and what techniques I use to help support and use the 5-element theory within a yin yoga practice. So pranayama, or breath control, is used quite frequently, and this is used to calm the mind and body and support the body in sending your breath as efficiently as possible throughout the body. And certain breath work can support particular elements more so than others. A common mantra I use when teaching or when practicing yoga is where your breath and attention goes, the energy flows. And then we also practice specific yin yoga postures that can be themed around the particular season and their corresponding organ meridian pairs, creating a controlled stress or pressure with the support of the ground or props around the various points of the body, particularly around the areas of the organ meridian pairs or pathways or energetic highways. This controlled stress or pressure works to release blockages or tension held in the body's connective tissues and nervous system, creating more balance, more free movement and harmony within the body, both physically and energetically. It also improves our ability to respond or adapt our behaviours, mindset, to align more closely to nature and the current seasons. Yin yoga is also often described as a stepping stone into the world of meditation, which has far-reaching benefits to both our physical and mental health and well-being. So due to the longer holds of yin yoga postures, you have the chance to explore sensation and their reaction to these sensations and the experiences that these can create. And during those longer holds, I will use meditation to help you work your way through exploring the sensations in your body. Using meditation whilst holding the yin yoga poses can also help us to avoid distractions, to focus our attention inwards. And it can also help us to support our way through some uncomfortable sensations or uncomfortable thoughts, distractions occurring during the practice. Yin yoga is not a practice about advanced postures. It's more about advancing our ability to observe and be present with our body's physical and emotional state. Using less props and spending more time in the postures is the more common way to progress your yin practice. However, the focus is also directed towards cultivating more mental strength, tolerance and patience. The ability to sit with intense sensations and do nothing. Developing the ability to be non-reactive. This aspect of the yin practice is closer to the practice of meditation and mindfulness. Using breath awareness, awareness of sensation in the body, guided visualization, or meditations and mindful movement is used to help support this aspect of yin yoga. So as I mentioned earlier, this is quite a heavy topic to break down, and I hope I've made it a little clearer as to why in my classes I'm mentioning or theming them around the 5 elements and why it's used so widely within the world of yin yoga. This may have also been helpful to those of you out there who are a beginner to yoga or to yin yoga and would like to have a better understanding of the reasons and the benefits of this beautiful and fascinating practice. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, please do get in touch. So you can email me, Debbie, at myholisticbliss.com, and just ask any questions, or you could even head over to the members only Facebook group and ask any questions that you have about the yin yoga practices or any of the other practices on the Holistic Bliss online members area. Have a great day, and I hope to see you soon.